So many games to play, yet so little time. I want to make a video on one, but I just can't decide. Which one will it be?
Did somebody say... oh shoot, hold on.
Hello?
Hey, can I enter your video?
You literally just did. And don't think I don't see you over there calling me.
Fair point, but I'm trying to actually do the right thing and call you before I hop into these things. Gotta respect the boundaries of one of my many best friends, you know?
Oh, I know. This time you actually remembered after you burst in.
Okay, well, to be fair, the first time I didn't even know you, and the second time... Okay, you have a point there.
Well, in any case, what do you want this time? Are we going on another one of your escapades?
No, not this time.
How encouraging.
I overheard you needed a game suggestion, so...
Thanks, but I don't think this is gonna fit in the Switch.
Oh, don't worry, Tony. This is just a big plastic replica. The actual copy is really small.
Is that a DJ Grooves quote?
Shut up.
Okay, but I don't know if I want to commit to a Persona game.
Well then, Tony, you better wake up, get out there, or the colors in your quills are going to go flying high!
But they already do when I go super.
Doesn't count.
Now you better sit there and become the best goddamn Phantom Thief the world has ever seen!
Okay, fine. Jeez, no pressure or anything.
Yippee! I want you to know that was very much a joke.
For those who don't know, the Persona series is a sub-series of a bigger franchise called Shin Megami Tensei that spawned off into its own franchise after the first two games. And honestly, you could make an argument that Shin Megami Tensei has become less renowned thanks to Persona taking off so much.
You mean Persona 5?
No, I mean Persona.
No, you mean Persona 5!
Okay. Personally speaking, I've known about Persona for a very long time, and heard good things about it, but I never had much motivation to try it out for myself, mainly because the general gameplay didn't seem like my kind of RPG, and because Persona games take upwards of 100 hours just to finish. So for the better part of my life, I kinda just held off on the series, being more of a casual observer than a dedicated fan. But all that has changed now thanks to my good friend Piffle. As part of a little Christmas cheer, he gets me Persona 5 Royal for the Switch, and over the last few days, I've been playing through it for this video. As of writing this script, I finished the first major arc in the game, which took me around 11 hours, which may seem like a pretty long time by average game standards, but this is a Persona game. I got like almost 100 hours left to go. As for right now, I think I've advanced far enough to get a good feel for the game and what it has to offer, so this video will be me discussing what I like and don't like about the game thus far. So let's not waste any time and jump right in.
Aw, come on. You could have said something like,
It's time to reveal your opinion's true form, or something.
Is this your video? Didn't think so. Besides, that's too long-winded.
You're long-winded.
What was that?
Nothing.
Starting off with the positives, I really like this game's art style. Anime-style games are usually hit or miss with me, kinda like anime in general, but this is very much a hit. Between the cel-shaded 3D style and the wonderfully crafted 2D cutscenes, this game is a visual treat. Sure, sometimes the world can look kinda drab and muddy, but it's usually only in specific areas. Plus, the more fantastical world of the palaces makes up for it by being pure eye candy. Seriously, it can be breathtaking on more than one instance. And surprisingly, the game runs pretty darn well on the Switch. Lots of times when it comes to Switch ports of major console releases, we get Crash Bandicoot 4 at best, and Mortal Kombat 1 at worst. And Persona 5 Royal is thankfully one of the good ones. Aside from a lower frame rate and slightly less pretty areas by comparison, the game runs well with little to no hiccups.
You know what? I'm gonna throw my own opinions in here just for fun. As someone who doesn't really care for frame rates all too much, my god, god, this is impressive! Look at it switch for like a hat in time. The textures are way worse than any other console, and sometimes the game would just freeze.
Or it would just chug like a Conroy.
And you called me out for quoting DJ Grooves.
Rules for thee, but not for me, especially when it's my video.
Ugh. Anyways, that game's way smaller in scope, so for a 120 plus hour game to just run on this thing and do it smoothly at that? What wizards did they have at Atlas HQ to make that happen? Now, is it the best way to play it? No, but you're not losing anything by playing on the Switch.
In terms of the story, I gotta say it's really good. You got a strong start with a mission from later in the game before bouncing back to the start to see how we got here. And despite being a little jarring with how suddenly it halts, it doesn't stay that way for very long. You quickly get right back in the swing of things with cool, in-depth characters. My personal favorites throughout the journey were Ryuji, the loyal bulldog of the group, and Sotro, the tough but fair mentor. As for the other major characters, Kamoshida was a perfectly hateable villain, and was a nice sympathetic comrade, even though I wish I could learn a bit more about her, more on that later. Igor exists. Carolyn and Justine were also there, one's a bitch, the other isn't. Kawakami was kind of interesting for what little screenshine she had during this part, and Morgana, while a little annoying at first, was actually not too bad of a companion despite the normally obstinate nature of cats.
Don't call me a cat. I am Morgana.
Oh boy, you really shouldn't have said that.
Listen here, you little Funko Pop. You got ears like a cat, you got a tail like a cat, you make cat sounds and cat puns, and you literally transform into a cat in the real world. You're a f***ing cat, now scram!
You did not to shame him for being a cat in front of me.
I thought you weren't a cat.
No, but Systemio is, technically.
Whatever. Anyways, let's talk about the gameplay. There are two places you play through during the game, the real world and palaces. In the real world, you live out your life as a school student, hang out with your friends, and do other mundane stuff like shop for supplies. The story stuff during the real world is the main highlight of this part, but there were parts of the real world gameplay that I enjoyed doing, like the occasional hangout with Ryuji and Sojiro. As for the palaces, or palace in my case, I had the most fun here. Exploring the palace was really fun. Sneaking around, getting items from smashing stuff, and exploring for treasures, it really makes you feel like a master thief infiltrating a palace.
So you really did follow my advice. Good on you for becoming a master phantom thief. At least for now.
You flatter me too much. Hey, wait.
What? I didn't say nothing. Just keep going.
Fine. Moving on to the battle system, it's a bit complicated at first, but once you get a grasp on the basics, it becomes really fun to play. You got a variety of moves from your gun, to your knife, to your multiple capabilities from your personas, which are manifestations of your character's will, and you use them in turn-based combat when you encounter enemies in the palaces. All of them have their uses for different enemies, and some attacks are particularly strong against the right foes, like Pokemon. What's more, while most characters only have one persona they can use, Joker, the main character, has many he can use after collecting them in different ways, such as talking to a weakened enemy or sparing a begging enemy, also kind of like Pokemon. Huh, weird.
Speaking of Pokemon, I played this game on Merciless mode for my first time, and the combat is way more like Pokemon there. Super effective hits doing more damage and all.
Why would you play this game on the hardest difficulty on your first time?
Because he was funny. Also, didn't you do the same thing for your Kingdom Hearts Eros?
Only for achievements. If those didn't exist, I wouldn't have, because in the words of Dr. Eggman, work smarter, not harder.
Well, you still did it. Anyways, once I got the hang of combat, I was breezing through, kill every living shadow in this place, maybe even the non-living ones too. I'll just install some more lights in here.
Okay, I think you might need some help there, buddy.
Jokes aside, I really love the general palace gameplay that 5 gives you. I especially prefer it over the more linear dungeon crawling of Tartarus in the Midnight Channel. Yeah, I know Mementos is also that, but the difference is that if I don't want to sit and grind, I can choose to not do that. Plus, it gives me more to do in there.
Lastly, going over the smaller stuff I liked, the music is a bop. I never got tired of the battle music or the general tracks of the real world. The puzzles were pretty neat for what they were, and the collectibles were a nice side thing to collect. Yeah, there's quite a bit I like about Persona 5 Royal, but I would be lying if I said I enjoyed everything about it. Starting off with something big, the real world is really boring. at least comparatively speaking. When you start out the first arc, your options for activities in the real world are super limited. Like, you can explore, get lost because the map is bad with waypoints, talk with NPCs, and that's it. Now, to be fair, you do get more stuff to do as you progress, but it's hardly interesting. You can waste time at the batting cages and never get a home run to save your life. You can sit down for 2 minutes and study in the library, and you can shop at stores when you need to, which for me wasn't very often. Like, imagine if in Breath of the Wild you didn't have any monsters to fight or cool landmarks, and instead just wandered aimlessly in fields and towns until you got to the next divine beast. It's pretty boring, both in terms of gameplay and visuals. I get that it's meant to contrast the bright, ethereal colors of the palaces, but intentionally drab and boring is still drab and boring.
Well, that's a bad take.
What do you mean? It's my opinion.
I know, it's bad. Jokes aside once again, I actually like how restrictive the area feels at first. It kind of immersed you into the narrative considering, you know, you're on probation. Sojiro is not just gonna let you run around willy-nilly, he's smarter than that. As for the map, the only time I can think of it being bad was the train to school. That's why you said it, wasn't it?
Yes, I wandered around aimlessly for 5 minutes like a dumbass.
Join the club.
Well, another thing I don't care for is the amount of stuff you need to learn. Like, this game has a lot of mechanics and techniques you need to master, and oftentimes they'll throw them onto you one after another with little breathing room. It can be very overwhelming to not only remember, but use effectively when playing the game. And even when I felt like I was playing the game well, I couldn't help but feel like I was forgetting something else that could be useful. What doesn't help is that when the game does try to explain things, it's done in the most long-winded way possible. Characters will take upwards of 2 minutes or more just talking very slowly about every part of this new feature or mechanic. Like, get on with it already. Surely there's a more efficient way to explain how to fuse personas or look for a simple solution to a puzzle.
I don't know. I mean, you can go through these things at your own pace, read through the tutorial text later, and you even have the log to go through if you fast forward anything.
Oh, please. Who actually reads the log?
Me! I do!
You read?
I'm a mechanic and a cook! How did you assume I didn't?
I don't know. I guess I figured your hoodie just telepathically told you the information you needed.
We're literally writing a script right now! And what do you mean telepathically? It's not ESP, it's electricity!
It's also attached to your head.
No, it's not!
A few moments later.
Moving on from that debacle, all I have left are a few minor things. Namely, it can be a little hard to find specific spots in the real world, such as the brochures for getting part-time jobs or even a specific building tucked in a corner blending in with the environment, and leveling up specific stats like your guts, charm, and knowledge is a bit too slow for my taste. The latter option is especially irritating when you can't read specific books on the train to school because you're not smart enough, say certain things because you're not bold enough, or even start a social link with a cute girl because you're not charming enough. Which is absolute bullshit, by the way. Have you seen Joker in action? This man doesn't have drip, he's the whole f***ing rain cloud.
I had him that one for the record.
Well, that was quite a ride. Honestly, from what little I've played, I can see why people love this game so much. I obviously don't care for everything this game does. No game is perfect after all. But overall, this game is really fun to play through with an interesting story and fun gameplay. Now, I'm sure you're going to ask something else now that I've said that. Am I going to finish it? To be frank, that depends on the time I have. Between the videos I want to make and the games I need to play for those videos, I gotta manage my time carefully these days, and squeezing in the rest of Persona 5 Royal would be a tall order. I mean, I spent roughly 11 hours on the first arc of this game alone, and apparently this game goes on for another 90 hours or more. Even if I set aside as much time as I could for it, I don't know if I would have the stamina or the patience necessary to follow it through. But if my streams are any indication, I'm always up for a challenge. So here's what I'll do. If this video gets to 1,000 likes, I will continue to play through the game and see how far I get. Maybe then I'll find the energy to finish it. Then again, considering I have another franchise filled with incredibly long games to get through at some point, maybe not. But regardless of that, I enjoyed this recommendation. And hey, if you're interested in these kinds of games, I'd recommend it to you too. Just remember to be sneaky and strike fast. They'll never see it coming.
Be the key and find your axe to grind and...
Piff, stop. The video and the joke is over.
No, it's not.